Hey guys, what's up? This is Red Bull Tanker with Operation Fog of War, turn 9 for the United Kingdom. It has been quite the turn, I will say the least. So first we'll start with an overview of a couple key areas. First off, the United States is continuing to build forces to head to Europe. They've constituted the 30th Infantry Division, and that is ready to go. Big news was the U.S. launched an invasion of Rome, and it was a very Pyrrhic victory, to say the least. The casualties from the battle included all American land forces with the 5th Army at the time, which was 5 artillery, 3 regiments of the 34th Infantry Division, 4 regiments of the 1st Infantry Division, and 4 regiments of the 36th Infantry Division. They took out 8 Italian infantry, 1 tank, 2 AA guns, and we bagged 2 German fighters, one of them being one of the German generals. So we, and the Americans lost a strategic bomber in the battle as well. So very Pyrrhic, but they killed all of the enemy forces in Rome, which will allow us to walk right on in. But then we'll keep going. Japan took South Africa, unfortunately, and we plan to counterattack it. It's only a delay, so we'll have to see how that goes. Japan is continuing to build up. They attacked East Persia, but only sent 1 infantry in. So, not sure about that. We also know that Japan landed forces, coming back down to Africa quick, they landed forces in Tanganyika and French Madagascar. Japan is very much pushing all their forces onto the Europe side of the map, and from what we've seen, from scouting, Japan has left the Pacific wide open for us. However, they've basically cut China down now to 1 infantry and the Flying Tigers now, and that's all that stands between them and heading into Russia's backyard. Meanwhile, on the Russian front, seesaw battles continue to happen over Western Russia. Russians are still doing a pretty good job of keeping the Germans away from Moscow, so we're lucking out on that. Let's see here. What else is different about the map? Oh, the U.S. launched a strategic bombing raid against the factory in France, and they scored that one up, so that's good. Unfortunately, Japan also did that to us in Persia, so we don't have a factory there anymore. And I suppose the big news is at the end of Japan's turn, they got convoyed by these 2 Anzac subs for 20 IPC, so really knocked them down. They stood to gain almost 70 IPC. Oh no, they stood to gain 60 something IPC, but with the convoying they only got 40, so we lucked out on that, very much so. Let's see, what else? The U.S. retook Guam, moving troops to Hawaii. The Anzacs are kind of getting themselves built up a little bit too. So that's the state of the board before the Anzac turn. Before the UK turn. So let's get into it. Starting off with purchases, we bought an airfield and 5 infantry. We think the airfield will come in handy this coming turn, so we'll see how that goes. We did 1 thing of scouting, which was we took our strategic bomber from Iraq, went and scouted Italy, found that like I had said, that the German Air Force had abandoned Egypt, and now Egypt has 5 infantry and artillery, 3 tanks, and 4 planes. We know that they moved off their mech and a tank to head down into Africa to keep gobbling up territories. And then After the scout, the bomber went back to Iraq. Attacks this turn. Like I said, we walked in on both Italian territories. We attacked Jordan and we attacked Eastern Persia. So we'll start obviously here. So from our Canadian Army of 2 infantry and artillery and a tank, what we decided to do was we took the infantry and artillery and we walked into southern Italy for 3. Then we took just 1 infantry and we took northern Italy, taking that major and pushing it down to a minor. So now the Canadian Army is sitting pretty well, and we have 1 artillery sitting with the U.S. transport fleet, just kind of sitting and waiting. I've put the moniker of the Canadian Army under the 10th Army. So there's that, although I don't know if I really need that marker anymore, but I'll just leave it there for funsies for right now. Okay, so that was Italy. Next, oh, I forgot one. So then we came down to South Africa. We did take South Africa back. I forgot to add these guys to the casualty pile. Though we did lose all 3 infantry for our efforts, but all 3 of our artillery survived. But it's not, like we said, it probably isn't going to do much for us, considering that Japan will be able to retake it next turn pretty easily, we think. And then, let's see here. After that, we popped up into Transjordan, where we killed both Italian units to the loss of 1 of ours. And so we retook Transjordan with 2 infantry. The fighters went back. The planes went back to Iraq for defense. And then finally, our final attack was against Eastern Persia, which we won that one. I believe they did take 1 infantry out. So at least we can spot what all Japan has in India. And India now unfortunately, India does now have a naval base. So that's going to cause us some issues in the region. So that was all of our attacks. So we'll go into the non-combats. So we'll start over on this side of the board. We're taking the Queen Victoria and her destroyer escort and bringing it over with the American fleet to provide it some protection from this massive German air army that we know is hiding out somewhere. We don't know where, but it's probably within range to strike it. So we'll have to see on that. So there was that move. Oops. And then, yeah, our only other non-combat was we took the last remnants of the 14th Army and put it into Iraq as well to bolster up the defenses there, and maybe have a surprise for the Japanese, depending what they do with their forces. We think that's the size of their fleet right now off of West India. The Americans scouted 39. We didn't see anything in there, so yeah, we think this is what they have right now there. And then this fleet we think is either here in Madagascar. Well, it's either here in Madagascar or it also went back to West India. We're not entirely sure. So right now we're just leaving it there off of Madagascar for right now. We know they brought the 2 transports in because of the units that we saw land in Tanganyika. And we know that French Morocco fell. And just kind of based on what we saw, we think that was the forces that they used to take those positions. So yeah, other than that, that was our turn 9. It went better than most of our turns usually go, to say the least. So then at the end of the turn, we collected 35 IPC for territories. We saved 2, and we took 26 IPC from the Italian bank. So we end our turn with a lovely 61 IPC to be used next turn. We'll have to wait and see what the Axis do as far as how they're going to counter our positions. And I am an idiot, and I didn't do the deployments. So let's do this first. And I forgot to move. Sorry. So what we did here at home, we took 2 infantry and put them in Scotland. And then we deployed 2 more infantry into London. And then we took 3 infantry and dropped it with the army in Iraq. And then our air base we dropped in Gibraltar, so these American fighters could scramble in the event that the Germans try to sink this small American fleet right there. So that is the end of the turn. That is the end of turn 9. Pretty decent turn. It sucks that the United States had to sacrifice an army for us to take Italy. We were kind of hoping that the United States would be able to take it, so they could pour in a bunch of money into Europe. But that's sometimes how it goes. But so that's the map. That's the disposition of the board up until the end of our turn. And so that is it for turn 9 of Operation Fog of War. We'll see you guys again next time for turn 10. So until then, guys, take care.